So pour out the tea and enjoy some pod. Pursue internal evolution. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends.
Okay.
All right. Welcome back to Pie Talk Podcast. Pursuing internal evolution is what we do, and we hope that every video brings you some type of tools or aha moment for yourself in your journey to become the best version of yourself. It's me, Coach B, sitting here with Cortney Candelaria, and today we're going to talk a little bit about therapeutic courts in our county and essentially why they're important and kind of what's going on in the background with legislation and how we can continue to fund a good thing, in some cases a great thing. And well, Courtney, you can lead the conversation. You have the most experience with the therapeutic courts and how effective they are or were for you, for sure.
For me, hi, I'm Courtney Candelaria, and I am Drug Court Alumni as of November of 2024. Drug Court has impacted so many lives. It definitely was a major part in my life that changed my life. So a little bit about me is I grew up, my parents were into drugs. My whole upbringing was around drugs, around drug addicts, around drug dealing, around just the whole lifestyle of the streets. And growing up with that background and turning into an adult, still, just doing that lifestyle, I got into a lot of trouble. And I sat in Thurston County Jail with so much trouble that I literally thought you had to like scroll down my page to see all my charges. Like I was in some trouble. Like I didn't think I was freshly pregnant. I was looking at a substantial amount of time, and right before my due date was in November, and probably about the middle of August of 2022, they came and offered me drug court. And I never heard nothing good about drug court. I
With you.
heard, hey, it's set up to make you fail. It's set up to give you a chance to make you think you're going to be successful. It's not going to help you. They're going to have all these rules and you're not going to be able to follow them. Me coming from a life of no structure, no, I had no confidence that I was able to do a program like that at that time. But I wanted to get out and have my baby. Really, I wanted to get out, have my baby. I wanted to try something new at that point. I had sat in Thurston County Jail for 8 months, up to that point. And, I took that opportunity on drug court. So I signed my contract in October of 2022. Went to treatment for 6 months, and when I got out, I took drug court very serious.
Yeah, I'm just gonna jump in because I never got drug court and I never got DOSA. In fact, I never got any real treatment. No, seriously. Like
Yeah,
when I was a
yeah.
juvenile and coming in, nobody ever asked me like what happened, what was going on with me. It was like, oh, look at this kid. Told you he ain't shit. He ain't never gonna be shit. Give him the maximum sentence. Like I was always at the top end or having to argue for like the mid range. Never did I get the low end of any sentence ever, for any of the things I was going through. And so a lot of what I think, in retrospect, looking back, is I see people perpetuating that narrative that you just said about drug court, right? Where people are like, oh, it's a trick bag, basically. Like
Yeah.
you're going to get caught up. It's not meant for you to be successful. It's actually meant to trick you up. And then, I started thinking about that after, this time. I've been in reentry for close to 10 times. You know, the last time I got out, fortunately, is the last time I'm ever getting out, right? I'm not going back. And it wasn't necessarily because of drug court. However, from a different perspective, I came in, I guess, involvement with drug court by being asked to visit as a board member and then being invited to become a board member. So first I visited as just a spectator. I went to a board meeting, and at that time I was a family navigator for Peer Olympia. And then the things that I seen on that board, like literally changed my whole perspective on what the mission was or what the angle was or the whole program in and of itself. And so shortly after I first visited the board, I was invited for a position. I accepted. And during my term, I served about a year on the board. I watched a huge shift of energy and youthfulness and narrative changing. First of all, I watched for the first time in my personal life at that time them allow an alumni to become president. That was the first thing I seen. That was just like, okay, I'm interested,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like you're willing to put somebody with lived experience at the helm of this thing, then now you're talking my language, right?
Yeah.
I'm a certified peer trainer. I'm a devout peer specialist, and I really believe in the peer model, just in the space of using lived experience with training, with also, a little education to support people that have been through the same thing is phenomenal. It's amazing and it works. So again, when I seen it in the board where a president that went through the program could become president, it gave me hope. And then I was there on the board when I seen multiple attempts at advocating for a Strophe Foundation run clean and sober house, right? I was there for two votes that went the wrong way. And then I was there when the votes finally went the right way. And now they have, I don't know how many women. Courtney can speak to that in just a second. But I was on the board and I voted, for the positive, for them to create a space where women and their children could go. And it happened to be just in the nick of time. There were some houses being closed that housed women and children. I think they were Oxford houses.
Oxford House out in Chapter 30 in Mason County. The Serenity Sisters was the house. It shut down a month, like that same month that the Strophe Foundation was able to get on board and get this new house open.
Well, tell us about the house.
Okay, so I actually am a resident at, it's called Gratitude and Grace. It's ran by Olympia Sober Housing Management, Rhonda Rutzenloff. She has her own, sober living homes in the community, but she's on the board with the Strophe Foundation and takes responsibility to help run our house. I live there with four other women, all in therapeutic courts. So, therapeutic courts could be, if you're not familiar, drug court, mental health court, veterans court, DUI court, safe babies court,
Yep,
family
safe babies.
recovery. There's a whole spectrum of the therapeutic courts that a lot of people really don't hear a lot about.
Yeah, a lot of people think drug court and
Yeah,
that's it. It's just
yep,
drugs and that's all there is to it. But yeah, therapeutic courts,
yep.
however, encompass quite a large variety of modalities that are actually supporting individuals get their lives together, get their families back together.
hmm
There is a need for services for like anger management and parenting, and all these different things are incorporated in these therapeutic courts: mental health court, veterans court, DUI court, um, and then there's drug court.
hmm
But safe babies, right? So I've participated in supporting individuals in these courts on the other side, like as a peer specialist or as a family navigator or as a parenting coach. And I've seen from that end how much impact these courts actually have in changing the course and the trajectory of people's lives when they're feeling like they have no hope, feeling like they have no natural supports, like no one's giving them a chance. No one's actually asked them what happened and what can I do to support you. That is almost the foundation of the therapeutic courts. It's how can we support you as a community? And another thing I want to speak to is the judges that are involved in therapeutic courts. I've never sat in on courts where the judge was more interested in the person
Mm-hmm.
and the person's personal attributes and the person's achievements and celebrating the from the smallest milestones to graduation. These judges are more like peers than they are judges. Like, you do not feel like there's a power over differential in these proceedings. And I've sat in on some family court proceedings, on drug court proceedings, and graduations. And mind you, I was someone coming in from an aspect of like, fuck that program. They never supported me. They never helped me. And all I've ever heard about it was a trick bag. And
Mm-hmm.
I know a bunch of people that tried it
And failed.
and failed.
Yep.
Right. So
Yep.
that's the view that we get. But I think a lot of that view comes from kind of like jealousy when like people don't get accepted. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, the program is set up. It's going to set you up.
Yep.
Or one of those things where misery loves company. So somebody that's giving me the data is someone who did not apply themselves,
Exactly.
who did not want the structure, who weren't ready to change or quit doing the things. And they were hoping to be able to
Trick the system.
fake it
fake it till you make
work
it.
the system and
It's
not
not.
get the charge. Because what people don't know is the charges that are being suspended while you do the therapeutic courts program, when you graduate, they go away. The judge signs a dismissal, right? So like, it's done. Like, you get your entire life back together. I think for first timers or for people that maybe first time treatment, like they've been in trouble before, but this is the first time they've been offered an opportunity. I think it's ideal for those situations where people can like not have that thing on their record, and then they come off, they've got a job, they've got a house, they've got soft skills, hard skills, trade skills, emotional regulation, depending on the programming and training that they were asked to go through. And ultimately, it's one of the best programs that I've ever seen. And we're not even talking about harm reduction, because it's an abstinence based program when it comes to substance use disorder, right? So
Yes, absolutely.
they need to have clean UAs, they need to be an upstanding citizen. There's community service involved. Man, you know more about it than me. I sat on the board, but you know more about what they require of you. So let's play both sides, right? What would you say some of the barriers were for you completing it, and then talk about all the different ways where it's supported where you're at right now and what you're doing right now.
Okay. For me, I think when I first started drug court, a big barrier for me was people, places, and things. Like they were not tolerant on. They wanted you to change everyone you talk to. You weren't to associate with anybody in the, old criminal world. People in jail, people in prison, uh, trap house, anywhere that's known for being a troubled spot or a troubled, in the community. They were against that, and for like I couldn't get out. I got out and I went straight to an Oxford house. I had no license. I could not drive. Me being me, I drove for a lot of years with no license, like
A lot of years.
a lot of years. And
all
so,
the years.
and so like I'm like, oh, you guys are gonna put me in this Oxford house way out here in Mason County with my new baby. I was fresh out of treatment with Carson. He was only 4 months old when I got out. Still breastfeeding. Like I was not ready to start a program really that is going to take a bunch of time. Like when you first start drug court, you have classes 3-4 days a week. You're there for 2.5, 3 hours each class. You have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, call the UA hotline, make sure if your UA number comes up, then you have to be at the drug court building to UA by a certain time. If you have class, you have to be there in time before class, be able to stand in line. Like there's a lot of things that built up to the aspect of like, oh my gosh, is this going to be too much? Who's going to watch my baby? How am I going to get to class? How am I, there's a lot of things. But
Well, let's pause right there, right? Because I'm thinking about transferable life skills, right? I've never been in a program, but I know that I need to get up around 5:30 just to log in if I'm doing a virtual training, by 7 if I'm going to work out, if I want to eat a full breakfast, if I want to help get my kids ready for school. I have to be up around that time anyway, right? I also know that when I was looking for a job, uh, when people aren't in programs, one of the recommendations is those staffing agencies, right? Same thing. You got to get up super early, get there, or call in early enough so that when the jobs come in, your name
You're
gets
ready.
pulled. You're
Yeah.
ready,
Yeah.
right? Labor ready, it used to be. Now there's a couple different other ones. So when I think of what you just said, I'm superimposing it on everyday normal life anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a job where you have to commute, you have to get up earlier than the time of leaving so that you can get ready, do all the things,
Mm-hmm.
be prepared mentally, physically, make sure you eat, like I was saying. And so, just from what you said, to me, that seems like a setup for success
Yeah.
to instill habits in a person, especially people like us
Yeah.
that have a lived experience of not having any type of structure in their day to day, waking up whenever and then just on the streets
Yeah.
waiting to
And
do
you'll
the
see
next
how
thing.
all those little pieces eventually like tune themselves together to create habit and create punctuality in a person and all these other little skills that at first when you're first getting into the program you're like, why is this, why do I have to be there at this time, like can we just have it a little longer, like I think that window's too small. But no, in the bigger grand scheme of things, the way they have the program set up is to teach you how to be punctual, teach you how to schedule. They give you a little planner when you first get there. You're like, what are you doing with the planner? If you don't know how to use a planner, then use your phone. Use a calendar. You have appointments. You need to go see a doctor. You need to get checked out by the dentist. They want you to do all the things that like people do in normal society that these people coming off the streets haven't done in years. And so the first phase of drug court is actually pretty thick with appointments, scheduling, and so forth. But then as time goes on, once you get into phase two and phase three, you've already got some routine down.
How
Um,
long? How long does phase one last?
so phase one, they call it a stability phase, and it lasted for me for about 2 months until I got into phase two. And phase two typically lasts anywhere from 12 to 16 weeks. They base it on a book. So every week you do this chapter in this book, and if you get held up back on this book chapters, then you have to be in there an extended amount of time.
Okay.
And so, if you're doing a great job and, on top of everything and not getting held back, you can do phase two in 10 weeks. It's a 10 chapter book. You can do it in 10 weeks and put in your phase application and get onto phase three.
You know what else I was thinking about? We're already in the phase one, right? But here's something for all of you that want to, I guess, get into drug court and then essentially like complain, right?
Yeah.
First of all, it's a negotiation that you agreed to, right? It's a deal because you could have chosen to do whatever time was hanging over your head or go to trial for whatever charges you were facing or enter into this program. And in my opinion, like once you enter in, like you've chosen this path, why resist? Like this is by your own agreement. You're like, I don't
Yes.
want to go to prison or I want to get this stuff off. Even if that's your only motivation, then it's not to just be better and
Yeah.
live a, productive, successful life. But let's just say you're saying, okay, I don't want to go to jail, so I'm going to sign this contract. Then all of these things in this contract were by your own agreement.
Yes. Yes. And they do make that very clear because there are times where people are like, oh, well, why am I doing this? Well, you signed this contract for your freedom, essentially. You signed
Yeah,
this
you
contract
bargained for your
for,
freedom.
to learn some new skills. Why not take the skills if they're offered? Why not take the advice if it's offered? Obviously, it's been working for years. It's worked for some people in my life. I've seen been successful in the program who out on the streets were not successful. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I have seen the change firsthand. And so I'm like, oh, if these people can do it, then I definitely can. I got this. Um, so once you get after phase one, you go into phase two. Phase two is not very long. Phase three is that's when you start getting involved. You have to get a job, work an X amount of hours. You do the Escaping Your Prison book, which is also, I do believe it's 13 chapters, if I remember right. And there's parts in that book that you have to volunteer an X amount of time. And so you find a nonprofit and you volunteer some time to get through those chapters. And if you find a good nonprofit to work with in that book, then when you get into phase 4, which you have to volunteer your time to a nonprofit as well, then a lot of people will use those same nonprofits to go back and use the community service on, because they have built some kind of relationship with them, some rapport, and do the rest of your time, phase 4 and phase 5, your community service hours with those nonprofits, which is great for community building and other resources. I took full advantage of when I did my community service with Heart Strides.
Yep,
out
Heart
there.
Strides, shout out.
Yep, Miss Christie. She was more than welcoming to me to be there for phase 4 and 5 to do all my hours out there. And then another big struggle for me was when I was in phase 3. My phase 3 kind of lasted a long time because I was not really ready to go to work full time. I went to work. I got my basic 20 hours, the minimum for, the beginning of phase 3. But then when they wanted me to work 32 hours plus, I still had a new baby. I was still breastfeeding. I had a new baby. I was doing all the things I was supposed to be doing. But
so you had a little resistance
I
to
had
that
a little
part.
bit of resistance, and I just did the minimum for quite some time, and then finally in drug court and in court one day, they're like, "Okay, Miss Candelaria, I think it's time for you to get the process rolling. Like, we're not gonna hold you back one more week for because you're not working your hours." And so at that point, I was just like, "Okay, I guess I'm gonna go to work at McDonald's full time. I don't want to, but I'm going to." Which
I got a lot of chicken nuggets around that time.
but it all in the end definitely taught me skills that I use to my day-to-day still, for sure.
Well, I think that's a unique point because I interviewed Brian. I'm gonna have to interview him again because one of the mics weren't working or whatever, and so we had to scratch that video. But one thing he pointed out, and when his From Prison to Peer Work interview drops, you guys will hear it out of his mouth. But he did drug court, and as soon as he finished, he got high.
Mm.
However, he doubled back and admitted in the interview, and I'm sure when I ask him that question again, he'll bring it up. But now he has to because I'm putting it out there first. But what he told me was really unique about the fact that a couple months after that, and when he decided himself he was ready for recovery and all the things, he said it was all of the skills that had been imprinted in him from drug court
Mm-hmm.
that helped facilitate his readiness. So
Mm-hmm.
once he decided to, you know what, this is crap, I'm not doing this no more. And then he used the shot, to get mentally right. And so once he got on the shot, he literally said it was everything he learned in drug court that perpetuated his successful recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So even though, right, he would have fell within that statistic of having been one of the people who within the first year of ending it, relapsed or went back, it still worked because when he came back from that lapse, he relied on everything he learned during his at that time fairly recent experience with drug court. So I just really I really think that it needs to stick around. The therapeutic courts work if you work it, right? If you follow the contract that you sign to the letter, then the results are internal. It's right in alignment with this podcast. Therapeutic courts support a process where somebody can pursue internal evolution and become a better version of themselves for having gone through it, even if it was a bargain for freedom as the initial motivation. But if they just dig in, this is evidence.
So a big part of that is I commonly see is the honesty aspect of it. The honesty aspect, having integrity aspect, being willing to admit your wrongs openly and face it. Like they do this program. It's called Seeking Safety. Tons of coping skills and just emotional regulation type skills that they teach you to how to like process things when they're happening and how to like stop and think. They have like all these little cliches like uh, play the tape through before reacting.
Yeah, I
Like
use that often.
yeah, and
Like,
I do
yeah,
too.
I
That's the
say
thing.
watch that. I say, hey man, watch the movie. You've seen it before,
Yeah.
right? Play the movie through. That's exactly one of my strategies. And then even in peer training, like the WAIT acronym,
Mm-hmm.
WAIT, like why am I
Halt.
talking, right? There's a lot of what they seem to be like cliches, but people remember them, and we use acronyms in the human psychology because it helps us remember things when times get hard. It's those cliches that we fall back on because we've said them so many times
They
or
sound
we've
corny,
heard
but let me
them.
tell you, they do work.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. For real. So, tell me more about this. You sent me a Facebook post, or at least you tagged me in it, and it was asking for letters. Something about the therapeutic courts potentially going away, like
Okay,
through the
so that
government.
is a huge talk in the community right now. They are saying with all the budget cuts and pushback that therapeutic courts is, kind of on the bottom of the chopping block there. And so Megan Wells has requested that people write to her emails, and she's been in contact with prosecutors and some people on the I don't know where, but she has requested people write letters on how therapeutic courts have helped them, helped somebody they know, changed your life, someone you know's life. Like, what is the impact that is actually being done in the community by, people of the therapeutic courts, people involved with therapy, people who have loved ones who, have been on the by, standing by, watching these people's lives actually change and for the better, to, just give recognition to why we should actually keep the therapeutic courts in our community.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because you can't quantify the value that it actually has, right? If you take one person who would have okay, so let's just start from the scratch. You got a person who's been living with trauma, um, using very negative coping mechanisms, operating under a narrative that has continued their recidivism cycle, and then they get offered drug court. Now the choice is they can go to prison. Maybe that prison sentence that's getting bargained for is like 3 or 4 years. They go into prison for 3 or 4 years. They gain more trauma and more negative coping mechanisms, and maybe more anger and more emotional
Resentment.
dysregulation and resentment. And who knows what happens, right? Now, say that same person signs this contract. They complete drug court. They do the whole process. Now they have a job. They're a tax contributing civilian. They are no longer have that on their record because it goes away, right? And so they're able to be a contributing factor to community, and then take some of what Courtney just said. They're actually, as part of the process, being asked to give their time back to an existing nonprofit that's doing work in the community. So
Mm-hmm.
they're giving back, which might spark an entire different type of passion, which usually is the case. Um, Courtney is the president of the nonprofit I founded, Pursue It If You Want It. And we're out here, boots to the ground, grassroots, doing events, putting together all kinds of things so that we can provide families with peer support, with mentorship, with just engagements, all of that. And then you take the fact that, and we'll just keep using Courtney as an example because she's here, right? Her son, who was 4 months when she entered this contract, right, has now not had to spend his very, very young and impressionable years without his mom,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then now this child, this son, um, grows up with his mom in the house, maybe never even experiences the cycles or the historical trauma from, Courtney's upbringing that was prison and drugs and addiction, and now Carson never sees that. So the cycle gets broken. How do you quantify the value of just that alone versus if she's gone for 13 or 10 or 8 years and he grows up pissed off at the system, pissed off at his mom, who knows who's raising him or how. And then, I'm doing reentry or mentorship with him because he's going into the system and coming back out pissed off. Like,
And that's
and
exactly
that's
how it
the
happens.
and that's the
That's
cycle. That's the
exactly how it
cycle.
happens. Because I remember being young and being mad at the cops taking my parents away to jail because my parents were out there doing bad things. Uh, at a very, very young age, I witnessed both my parents be arrested and taken away for a substantial amount of time. And I can remember, those feelings of not liking the cops,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
liking the system,
Look at
CPS,
my son.
not liking,
Yeah, my
the
son, 8
authority.
years old, and scared of the police because he was there when I got raided.
My
When they
daughter was the
snatched
same
me
way.
away.
My daughter was the same way,
We
Erica.
and just a few months ago, I don't know if you follow my Facebook, you might have seen this post. We were in I think it was a Panda Express, and he seen a cop and walked up to him and started talking to him and ended up taking a picture with him, and we had a good conversation. And he's like, I want to be a cop because I want to be a hero, right? And to be able to literally spin that narrative for my son is, you can't put a value on that,
No.
right? Therapeutic courts create that possibility of change that has a ripple effect out that you cannot track the data from. You cannot, you just can't expect to be like, it's worth this much money or it's worth this much whatever. You can't track that because for every single individual that is successful, everybody they touch in their life that they had been negative before that is going to experience the benefits of that program because that person is now healing and contributing to their relationships in a positive way,
reconnecting with their families who they hadn't spoke with in years. That was part of my story. I would when I was in my addiction, I avoided my family. I have no family
and I'm sure
functions.
they avoided you too.
They asked me to come to every family function. They call and call and call and try to show up to pick me up. But I was like a ghost. I was not answering the phone. I was not. I was like, I am not doing this. This is too much. I can't do it. But then when I got into drug court, like I realized, oh my gosh, I missed so many years just avoiding. Like, why would I not go to my family functions? But when you're in addiction, as deep as I was, I just was not in any type of. I had no coping mechanisms to handle situations like that because I felt shame and guilt with my addiction.
Well, long exposure to addiction and trauma rewire the neural pathways in our brain. So we're not even thinking rationally or logically. We're not thinking about the family members and the outings. We're just like, how can I do the next thing to get the next fix or be completely engulfed? And then there's that internal stigma, that shame, that, oh, I can't go around them because then they're gonna be like, and then there's the other part too, that same kind of justification for not being around your family. It's like, no, I want to do them a solid because I know I'm in the game. I'm gonna stay away from them so that they don't be associated with my criminal negligence, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stay away from him because he's squared up now.
Yeah.
But really, it's none of that. Like, those are the people that would hope to God you would come around just long enough so that they can maybe plant a seed or do an intervention or get you in the drug court because they know you got warrants or whatever. Lots of people that love their family would much rather see them in jail or in a program than not know where they are, knowing that they're out there potentially anticipating that phone call we all don't want to get, right? Especially a parent that their child has passed away or their child is getting life in prison, essentially passing away without ever being able to experience life on the streets. And I think, and I believe that without therapeutic courts, the recidivism, at least in our county, would be a lot higher. A lot higher. There would be a lot more youth affected that never get to reconnect with their parents before they enter into the system themselves. I'm a person who has experienced being incarcerated with men who were sharing cells with their sons, having
Mhm.
their siblings' children, their blood nephews come in and being their cellies and
I have
thinking,
been in jail with my mom.
there you have
Yeah,
it,
yeah, that's a thing.
right? So one more time, what? So Megan Wells
Hmm.
on Facebook, or if you go to the Strophe Foundation on Facebook, there's a Facebook page. You could probably find her through that. Um, I'd imagine a Facebook Messenger, ask her for her email if you're interested in submitting a letter um, that she can then forward to, I imagine, legislation,
Yeah,
uh,
prosecutors. She's in touch with
prosecutors,
prosecutors.
legislative council people. I have a couple of friends. I would have never said that like 5 years ago, right? I have a couple of friends that are judges and council members, and
I've been at a couple of
uh,
events with sitting at tables with judges and
yeah, it's a
lawyers and
different life. It's
prosecutors.
beautiful, right? And I think that if I would have gone through drug court, I would have similar results, right? It took me 28 years of judicial entanglements without getting drug court or DOSA
Mm.
or some type of program that actually um, attacked the core issues, that worked on emotional regulation and coping skills and the anger issue, and actually taught uh, valuable parenting techniques. No, I had to learn the hard way. And because of that, I had that anger and distrust for programs like drug court, like DOSA. And I was willing to perpetuate that narrative that, oh, those are just trick bags. But really, I had no data, zero, other than people saying they were trick bags because
Hmm.
they end up going to prison because they couldn't do it,
Yeah,
right? Or didn't want to
yeah,
commit.
just wasn't ready to just let the old people go. Like that's a thing.
Yeah, that and that's huge, right? If you're not willing to cut off the toxic people in your life, then yeah, you're not gonna probably be successful in a program that requires you to cut off the toxic people in your life and
Hmm.
stop visiting trap houses and thinking that you can hang around.
You don't go to the
Uh,
trap house to show off your sobriety. I'm sorry, that's just not a thing.
yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, I yeah, never heard that put that way, but yeah, who
Yeah.
goes to a trap house? Be like, look at me, I'm super sober
Isn't
and
this
doing great.
great?
Yeah, you guys want to come on and I'll
Yeah,
take you to Soberland?
yeah.
Let's all pile in my car and go to sober
Yeah,
together.
we can all go to a meeting. It's okay. You guys aren't.
No, you're right. Usually, if somebody is going to a trap house, they're trapping
Yeah,
or they're getting
absolutely.
trapped, right? They're either going to eventually use again or they're going to start selling, which will lead to
Hmm.
using again
Absolutely.
or and incarceration.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
regardless, if you're not willing to cut off the old to embrace the new, then chances are it's not never. It's just not right now. But therapeutic courts is a when the time is right, it works. And I would say it works 100% of the time for those that are ready,
Yes, I
right?
agree
They
with
might
that.
have all these statistics of people entering and then people like failing or not graduating. But I think the people that are that are not graduating or that are failing are doing so of their own
Hmm.
accord.
Yep.
They're not in my opinion, I don't think anyone's failing because living life is too hard.
Yeah.
Because that's what therapeutic courts does. It shows you how to live life. It shows you that there's going to be um, ups and downs. There's going
Hmm.
to be random things that you have no control over, and that you're going to have appointments, and you're going to have to make those appointments. You're going to sign contracts. In the workspace, and you're going to have to honor those contracts or there will be consequences, right? It teaches all of those things while the classes, and especially in phase one, are teaching you to not be emotionally dysregulated while you're learning all these new
Hmm.
things in real time. So it's not theory, right? Because I'm one of those people, I'm big on reentry, but I'm also big on pre-entry and re-entry having a distinction,
Mm.
right? Pre-entry is when you're talking to people while they're incarcerated before they enter society. Reentry cannot start until they enter society, just like post-incarceration syndrome. It's in the definition. You can't work on post-incarceration syndrome until they're post-incarcerated, which means until they get out.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the emotional dysregulatory things that happen when people get out, you can't prepare them for while they're in. You can talk about it, you can plant the seed, but those things don't show up until after somebody gets out. Just like the ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences, they already happened before you went to prison, because those questions are designed to find out what happened prior to you turning 18. If you're in prison, you're 18,
Mm-hmm.
right? So ACEs cannot be changed. They can only be mitigated. Well, the effects of your ACEs can be mitigated with knowledge, with skills, with coaching, with therapy, with sometimes medication if it's necessary. If there's really a brain disorder or some type of DSM-5 diagnosis that requires medication, then by all means, seek a specialist, a therapist, a professional in that field. I'm not one of them. I am a coach. I am a peer. I'm a person with lived experience with some really unique and special certifications that help me support people in their recovery journeys, in their workforce journeys, and most passionately in their family reunification and reentry journeys. That's what I do. That's why I'm a coach. And I love what I do. And I've created all kinds of tools, and I've published some books. And I get to go into the prisons and train certified peer support specialists for Washington State. I believe in that program as well. But most importantly, and this particular episode of Pie Talk, I really wanted to highlight the need and the importance of therapeutic courts in our state, in our particular counties. Um, and right now they're under threat of no longer existing, which there's so many graduates every month. There's so many families that are being enrolled into these therapeutic courts that are being given opportunities to succeed
Mm-hmm.
that they otherwise wouldn't be getting. And it's working. So please, if you're interested in supporting something like that, um, write the letters, DM me if you need Megan's email. I have it, I just don't have it memorized. So if you DM me, if you watch this video, or you put a message in the YouTube comment section of this video, then I'll make sure you get that email. So if you're affected, if you're an alumni, if you're a family member of somebody you know graduated any one of the therapeutic courts in any counties, then we want to hear your voice.
Your voice counts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, we've been on this for a minute. Stay tuned for more. Look, got some new mics, got our setup back, Pie Talk podcast back in full effect. Court was under the weather last week before that, I was. And so,
Tis the season.
tis the season to be healthy. So, with that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, share this video particularly. It's very important, very near and dear to our hearts and to our community building. We are full-time, 24/7 hope dealers, and I really hope that our communities can grow and bridge and come together for better outcomes for families, for individuals, for everybody involved. Because the more people we get help, the more people we support, the more bridges we build, the less we have to live in fear of crime, of overdoses, of watching somebody close to us pass away, or pass away in prison because they didn't get the tools or the opportunity um, to change. And that's what we hope to do. That's why we're here. Also, if you want to support, pursue it if you want it. In our efforts, we have some hoodies that we're selling. Watch the Facebook post for those. We got to pre-order them because we're not rich. We're quite the opposite. So everything we do is with the kindness and generosity of the community that we then turn around and pour back into the community. We want to do anger management and parenting for free, and this helps us provide families with the material so that all they got to do is show up, and then we'll show up.
Mhm.
And so, any last comments for this particular episode, Court, before you go?
No, drug court works. That's all I got.
Drug court works. Till next time.